Welcome to the Canes Corner podcast. I am Adam Gold, and we're starting a couple of minutes earlier tonight because, well, skeeters. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. On Hamlin Road in Durham, there is no place like it. I hope if you have any home improvement needs, Sammy Han and his crew can do a good job for you. I promise they will. They will treat you well. They will treat you like family. They have the best customer service in the industry. And oh, by the way, they do a damn good job. AluminumCompany.com online for a free, no obligation estimate. All right, this is going to be probably a little bit brief, but that's okay. When the Hurricanes lose, a lot of you get mad, and I'm here to tell you not to be mad. I'm here to tell you that the Carolina Hurricanes played a good game tonight. They played a game that could have won, didn't, and we live to fight Sunday. 1 o'clock, 1:10, opening faceoff. So we'll be on the air with Stormwatch starting at 12 o'clock. Game comes down to really a couple things, and we'll get to whatever the bad is. We'll get to it. We all know what the bad is, right? But there was a lot of good tonight. I mean, they could have easily won this hockey game, and there's something good about that. Let's just paint this picture. The Hurricanes go on the road. And we'll talk about the road record. They go on the road. It's game 3 of a series. You lead 2-0. A series that, frankly, you could have lost either of the first 2 games on home ice, but you won them. You go up to Long Island against a good team that plays a heavy game, that has a great goaltender, and this game was tied with 5 minutes left. And I'm sorry, but I'm failing to see the tragedy of it all. I just do. You're not winning every game you play in the playoffs. The other team's good too. The Islanders have had a really good second half of the year. Remember, this was a team that was for a good chunk of the season outside the playoff line. They played well in February and March into April and got in. They didn't get into the last day of the season. Actually, they got in the day before, but they went from wild card 2 to wild card 1 when they won at home against Montreal, and that clinched the playoff spot. And then Florida couldn't get back over them. So we drew the Islanders, which frankly is probably a pretty good draw for the Hurricanes. Anyway, Carolina played well. Could have won the game. Didn't. First period, Carolina was the better team. Didn't get anything out of it. But to be honest, I wasn't upset at 0-0 because even though you're the best, you were the better team in the period. The Islanders could feel the same way about the second period. The Islanders were the better team in the second period. It was 1-1. I mean, it was an even game through 40 minutes. And I thought for the first, 10 minutes, 8 minutes of this third period, I thought it was an even game. Did the Islanders have better chances? Yeah, I think they did. But the Islanders also had 3 power plays in the third period. And the third one finally got Carolina. So I'm not sitting here thinking that this was a massive, massive loss. We're going to look at the final score and go 5-1. Oh, what went wrong? It was a 2-1 game. We went into this series thinking that we were going to see 2-1 hockey games. We got one in game 1. Carolina won it. The game 2 was kind of a gong show, but obviously not a 2-1 game. And this was, for all intents and purposes, a 2-1 hockey game. Okay. Carolina's power play didn't do well. At least they got the puck in the zone. Again, Carolina's major problem with the man advantage is getting the puck in. They managed to do that tonight with ease is probably not the right word, but they did it tonight. They didn't have to go, continuously chase the puck back down the ice. They just didn't do anything when they got in. They had possession. They passed the puck around, took a lot of shots that got blocked. But again, wasn't great, but their power play hasn't been great, and it hasn't been great for the most part for 6 months. Hasn't been great all year. And I know some of you have the answers. Get a power play coach. I don't think power plays are that complicated. They're not. You have an extra guy. You have a guy on either side, either wing. You have one guy at the umbrella. You have a guy operating below the goal line. You have a guy in the slot. Sometimes the guy below the goal line gets out in front, sets a screen. Sometimes you have two guys, one on either side of the net. Look, there's a lot of things. Supposed to have movement. Carolina's not getting great movement, but I would caution you here. This is no offense meant to any of the players on the ice. Carolina doesn't have great talent right now. I mean, do you think the power play would look different if Max Pacioretty, Andrei Svechnikov, and Teuvo Teravainen were out there? I mean, I don't know, but maybe? Maybe? There's not a great, it's not a great power. They don't have great talent. Right now, playing in Carolina's top 6 forwards, assuming that we're eliminating the Jordan Staal line, which for 3 games has been their best line. Right now, playing in their top 6 are 3 players really worthy of power play time. That's it. Necas, who, frankly, is either not healthy or bad. Aho, who's just been okay offensively in this series. I'm more of an Aho apologist than anything, but I didn't think that line was great tonight, but I also, there's a lot of pressure on him. They had to deal with the Barzal line some tonight. Staal had to deal with the Barzal. Lane Lambert doesn't really match. I mean, there were plenty of shifts where Barzal, Horvat, and Lee were out there against Staal. I think Lane Lambert's just rolling lines, and Carolina's doing the same. So Rod was able to get the Staal line out there a fair amount. I thought the Aho line was okay. Wasn't dominant, but it wasn't bad. I think they ended up the game -2, but again, I think a lot of that was late. But there's just not enough talent right now on the team to have a good power play, which is why maybe it's going to sound awful, but maybe they should just throw the Staal line out there or the 4th line out there and just try to beat him with hustle. But there's all I can say is look at the roster. And we've been talking about this for a while. And this is, remember we did the podcast where it was all about perspective. Remember the perspective podcast? It probably ticked off a lot of you because it was basically smacking Kane's Twitter upside the head for being defeatist about everything. We can't do this. We can't do that. Look at the roster. Again, no disrespect meant to anybody here. Everybody's trying hard. Stefan Noesen is playing in the top 6. Going into training camp, there were like 5 people who thought he was going to make the roster. He's been an enormous part of their offense this year. And frankly, he should be on the 4th line, but he's playing in a top 6 role because Jack Drury has 2 goals this year. Jack Drury's got a future, and I think he'll be a pretty good offensive player. But come on. Jack Drury is a 3rd or 4th center, probably. Maybe, and I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic about his future. Maybe Jack Drury can play up in the lineup, but he's probably a bottom 6 center. He's playing top line time tonight, playing on the power play. Jesse Puljujarvi's playing on the power play. Are you joking? This is the roster. So when we're wondering, we need a power play coach. No team has one. It's not a complicated process. every team tries to do the same things. Some players, some teams have better talent on the power play. There's a reason why Edmonton has a power play that operates at about 34% efficiency. It's called Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. There's a reason why Toronto's got a great power play. So, pardon me for being frustrated by the criticism, but look at Carolina's power play. There's no way that Martin Necas is healthy. He hasn't played well lately anyway. He overthinks everything. Look, I thought it was a positive step forward today that he wasn't a puck management mess. There were a couple of squirrely moments, but for the most part, Martin kept it kind of simple, which is what you have to do in the playoffs. These are going to be low-scoring games. Again, I know it's 5-1, but it wasn't. This was a low-scoring game. So the power play was bad. The penalty kill was not. The penalty kill was great. It got us a goal, and it gave us a chance. I just said us twice. Dagnabbit. But ultimately, you put yourself down a man too many times. 3 times in the third period, basically twice in the second half of the third period. So for those of you sitting here, we got dominated in the third, well, you were shorthanded for 6 minutes. You didn't have a power play in the third. Not that might have mattered, but it's really not that complicated. Sorry. But you have Jack Drury, who is really, if everybody was healthy, Drury wouldn't be on the ice. Jesse Puljujarvi, if everybody's healthy, he wouldn't be on the ice. Necas is struggling. You got a fourth liner. Bless his heart. Stefan Nason's had a wonderful year, but ultimately he's a fourth liner. Maybe at best he's a middle six winger. And he played well. He gave Carolina some chances. Nearly put a beautiful move with kind of a little spinorama, but lost control of the puck out in front of Ilya Sorokin. Carolina's best line tonight was Stahl, Martinook, and Fost. And there you go. So I'm not a skies falling guy. Not even close. Not a skies falling guy. We'll answer questions here in a minute. I don't know if you probably can't see it, but there are hell of mosquitoes out here in studio back porch. I don't think the screen is working. Anyway, this is the morning after podcast, the evening after the Hurricanes lost 5-1 to the Islanders in a very, very competitive game, that one that Carolina could have won. All right, let's get to some positive, shall we? Or the positive. And then I'll ask maybe a simple question. Antti Raanta was awesome tonight. Awesome. Coming off of Wednesday when Antti was no good in the second period. The goal that made it 2-1 should not have gone in. The goal that made it 2-2 should not have gone in. I don't really mind the third goal. Okay. He did make a couple of good saves late that kept Carolina afloat, and then they tied it on the Slavin goal. And then, of course, they won it in overtime. But I was worried that Raanta was going in there. But Antti Raanta was awesome tonight. Awesome. Goalies need some help sometimes. Sometimes the post is your best friend. Sometimes they hit you with the puck. Sometimes they miss the net. Carolina does that often. Often. Hey, Martin Necas probably should have had 2 goals in the first period. He hit Ilya Sorokin with the puck. Sebastian Aho put one right in the Islanders. He hit Sorokin right in the Islander with one. So, Raanta was awesome tonight. Absolutely. We were sitting there watching the third period going, how much longer is this going to last? Because, again, so much power play time. especially late. And then the power play goal, oh well, good feeling gone. But again, it had nothing to do with Raanta. So you've got a guy playing, again, great. I remember last postseason, and I remember at the end of last postseason, people not complaining, but going, man, if we had just had Freddie. Did you watch Antti Raanta last postseason? There's no way, zero chance, Carolina would have gotten better goaltending from Freddie Andersen than they got from Antti Raanta last year in the playoffs. No chance. Now, Raanta did not play well in Game 6 or Game 7. Last I checked, Freddie can do the same thing. So, anyway, I don't know. The question's already up there. It's been asked on Twitter. It's been asked several times. I think Freddie is going to start on Sunday. And if Freddie is not well, if he is still ill, I actually think it'll be Pyotr Kochetkov. I think Rod will treat this like a back-to-back. Antti had to do a lot tonight. Islanders outshot Carolina 37-31. All right. 4 of the goals, by the way, belong to Raanta. But I think I think we'll see a different goaltender on Sunday. I do suspect it will be Frederik Andersen. And that's okay. Andersen has played against the Islanders 3 of the 4 times this year. And the first one was in Raleigh. And I don't even remember if Freddie played well or not. The Islanders won the game. It was a 6-2 final. I think there was an empty net at the end. So maybe it was 5 that Freddie allowed. But in the other 2 games, Frederik Andersen was very good. One of the games here, one of the game in the 2-1 game that Carolina won, Freddie at the other end was pretty good. And then, of course, the Hurricanes won on an Aho goal. And then, was it an Aho goal? No. It's a Kokoniemi goal and then a Jordan Martinook goal, the 2 goals in Raleigh. But Freddie played well in both starts against the Islanders other than the first one. And again, I don't remember a thing about the first meeting back in October in Raleigh. So I just assume we're going to see the whatever other goalie plays. But I don't think there's any question that Antti Raanta established the fact that you give him the net when you can. And I think, and of course he could start Sunday. There is a day. But again, I think Rod, because of the early start, I think Rod will treat it like a back-to-back. I doubt they practice tomorrow. Maybe they will. And I think you come back with Raanta on home ice on Tuesday. That's the way I think it works. And by the way, the Canes can easily lose the series. They are very, very punchless offensively at this point. Look at the roster. All right. That's the takeaway from the game. Again, the attrition is hurting. I'm telling you, there's no way Necas is healthy. There's something wrong there. But I don't want to give him a complete pass because if he's on the ice, he's got to do a job and he's got to put the puck in the net. But the truth of the matter is that Marty has been kind of not good. He's got some clutch goals over the last month, but there just hasn't been a lot from him for the last 4 or 5 weeks, maybe even a shade longer. But again, my feeling is that at least he didn't give the puck away tonight. So, that's kind of it. I mean, there's not a ton. Again, I think Carolina played well enough to win the game, and I hate that we're sitting here complaining about it. You knew the Islanders were going to get their power plays tonight because they didn't get any in Game 2. And if I were Lane Lambert, I would have been upset about that too. And I get what Rod was talking about, that Carolina probably should have had more than the 6. So Josh says, we lost the special teams battle and lost the game. Go figure. You said it. We just don't have the talent. Well, that's unfortunately, I think, fair. I feel like we'll probably win this series, but who cares if we can't beat the Rangers? I mean, I care. I'd like to win the series, even if you do lose to the Rangers. And I'm not saying that the Hurricanes can't beat the Rangers. But I don't think they lost the special teams battle tonight. I mean, Carolina only scored one goal. They scored that on special teams. It was the penalty kill. So they didn't lose the special teams battle tonight. Unless we say we lost the special teams attempt battle. Because the Islanders had 5 power plays and the Hurricanes just had 3. Like, the stats will say the Hurricanes had 4, but they had 2 seconds of power play time at the end that count to the record. Paul points out they played bad in game 2 and won. They played well tonight in New York and lost. Yes, correct. Well, I'm not sure either team played really well in game 2. It was not a great game in game 2, but Carolina certainly didn't play well in game 2. I thought, again, we're talking about Carolina, better team, game 1, won. I thought it was even game 2, won, but 2 bad goals. The fact that they were 0 for 6 in the power play, effectively, and allowed 2 soft goals and still won is a miracle. And I thought I'm just not upset about tonight's game. I'm just not. I mean, again, maybe I'm being the contrarian, but I don't believe the Hurricanes were bad tonight at all. Let's see. I hope this doesn't shake Ronta's confidence. I don't know why it would. That was from Black Cats and Hurricanes. I don't know why it would shake Ronta's confidence. He played well. So my guess is he's a smart guy, probably not having his confidence shaken. Jesper Fast is playing out of his mind, or at least he's trying. What is that insinuation? I think that, look, I have no problem with effort. The effort's been great. Here's the funny part, because this is a pretty big sequence in the game when Carolina tied it. So you talk about effort. And this is where you probably will never see this happen for Carolina. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but this was a pretty glaring mistake by the Islanders. So the Islanders are on one of their power plays in the power play at the end of the second period, toward the end of the second period, the one where Carolina scored shorthanded. So right off a faceoff, Sebastian Aho has his stick broken. I mean, it wasn't a penalty. He just, in winning the faceoff or trying to win the faceoff, his stick broke. Aho's stuck. So Hurricanes are kind of in a diamond. Aho's at the top of the diamond. He's got no stick. He's just kind of skating around, standing there, trying to do what he can. Matt Barzal makes a bad pass, and the puck exits the zone. Aho gets off. So mistake there by Barzal. The Islanders' top power play unit stays on the ice. They bring it back in. Now, of course, Aho's off. Somebody else is on. And Barzal loses the puck to Jordan Staal and doesn't hustle back. He just kind of stops skating. So here comes Staal. Here comes Fast. Pass across. Fast shoots. Actually, I think if you look at the replay, you'll see that it was a save. Sorokin made the save. Was it Brock Nelson? I think it was Brock Nelson. Not 100% sure. Who actually knocked it in. That was Carolina's lone goal tonight. But where's your hustle, Matt Barzal? Can't do that. Can't do that. So the effort is never an issue with this season. The effort is not the issue. Husky, to me, the story of this season has been great first period, not making the other team pay, got to put more goals in, blah, blah. Yeah, yes. 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 That is this season. That is this team. And this really was the problem even with a healthy Andrei Svechnikov. Because, again, the the issues about this roster and the trade deadline are completely different. But here's the real problem with the Hurricanes circa 22-23. Seth Jarvis, whatever you want to call it, sophomore slump, whatever. Seth Jarvis didn't have a good offensive year. Teuvo Teravainen had a bad offensive year. Actually got career highs from Necas, who was not the same player in the second half of the year that he was in the first half of the year. He was good, but he wasn't what he was in the first half. So maybe that's injury. Maybe that's he's still a young player and needs to kind of figure out how to sustain it, get stronger, all that. And because they never got Max Pacioretty going, because Andre Kasha played one game, because Andrei Svechnikov got hurt and went through a 20-game period portion of the schedule without scoring a goal, Carolina had many goal-scoring issues this year. So, and Sebastian Aho too. Aho went through his stretches, and Aho is not quite the finisher, pardon the pun, that some other players of his caliber are. Aho is a tremendous 200-foot player. You know, at the end of the day, Sebastian Aho might be, you know, he's the Hurricanes superstar, but even at his best, he's not on the same level as some of those other, you know, some of the other best players in the league. We know that. But that doesn't mean he's not a great player. He is. So, but there's just not enough. If they had gotten better seasons out of Teravainen and Jarvis offensively, it's probably a different story. You know, think about what the lineup looks like. Think about what the power play looks like. Think about what everything looks like offensively. If Jarvis has a good offensive year, builds on last year, Teravainen has a normal offensive year, unlike what he had this year. Was it less than a point a game? A point every other game? 37 points. They played, I think, 68 games. So it's about basically a 40-point on pace for like a 41 or 42-point season. That ain't Teuvo. Teuvo for Carolina has been like, 70-point guy. It's just a bad year. So what does Carolina look like if those guys have good years or normal years and Svechnikov doesn't get hurt, doesn't go through his 20-game goal-scoring drought? Pacioretty, I mean, it's a different team. And unfortunately, that's what happened so far. With all that said, I'm not writing them off. They lost a game tonight that they could have easily won. So, other team's good. We need to get more physical, at least match their physical play. Again, Black Cats and Hurricanes, no. I mean, I'm not upset about Carolina's physicality. You are who you are. I would say this, and I've said it 100 times. You can't fake toughness. You can't fake physical. You have to play your game, and Carolina's game is different. Carolina's game, by the way, is effective. Carolina's game can beat the Islanders. Just got to get to it. I think they had it in the first period. Didn't score a goal. Islanders are coming out physical. I thought Carolina did a good job in the first period, just didn't score. Second period, Islanders were better than Carolina. Third period again, 5-on-5. I ain't complaining. You just can't be in the box, especially twice in the last 10 minutes. Hammy is mad. Interesting name. Are you not upset about tonight because you're just realistic about what this team can do? Can this team without Svech, Patches, Turbo make a run? I'm not upset about tonight because I didn't think Carolina played badly tonight. That's why I'm not upset about tonight. Do I think they can make a run? Yeah, I do. I do. I legitimately do. I think they can play a way that will frustrate talented teams. I think they can play a way that will frustrate the Rangers. And I think if they catch a couple of breaks, they can win that series. I will point out the last two times they played the Rangers, they were both low-scoring games. Hurricanes won one, lost one. They played better in the one that they lost. They just lost. Shesterkin is great, but Carolina played very well. By the way, in those two games, they were both Freddie Anderson, and he played very well. Carolina just made a couple of mistakes in their own end in the second game, the one here, actually. They won the game in New York, lost the game here. And they lost the game. I'm just not, I don't know, maybe, and I have, by the way, I have an emotional investment. I think you all know, all of you know that. I have an emotional investment in this team too. Relationships that I have with people around the team, on the team, the head coach of the team, I want this team to win. I do desperately want this team to win. I want it for them. They deserve it. So, and I think you can also tell that at times I have become not irrational, I don't think, but emotional about it. After certain losses, I have gotten angry at certain things. But when I think they've played well, I'm just not going to get mad. Just not. But Carolina played a pretty good game. All right, final thing. Any of the Black Aces offer a spark to offense? I mean, there's some talented offensive players there. Vasily Ponomarev is a talented player there. Ville Koivunen, even though he's only played, I think, 2 games in North America because he came over when his season in Karpat was over. I think they're both talented players, but no, no. They're not ready for that. They're not ready for this. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have read about the Hurricanes prospects. I don't think there's a top 6 forward right now in the system. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Ponomarev had a good year at 46 points for Chicago. So he had a good year. But I'm not sure they look at him as a top 6 guy. But I think he's a guy that, I don't know, maybe can score 20 goals. But that's just a decent player now in the NHL. I mean, Carolina has plenty of guys who could have scored 20 goals this year. I mean, they had 13 players in double digits in goals scored during the regular season. So, I don't think there's a Black Ace that's going to provide much offense or a spark. There just isn't really that guy down there. All right, with that said, we're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it's for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job siding, roofing, windows, entry doors, storm doors, gutter helmets, awnings, railings, carports. They do it all. Free no obligation estimate online for you at aluminumcompany.com. By the way, hit the like button or the subscribe button or whatever button you have to use to hit to have it show up. You know, I guess you get notified when we're going to do this. We actually started a little early today, which was, I don't know, nice. I was trying to beat the bugs. Didn't do a good job of that. I don't know if you can see them, but they're all over the place. But we're here after every Hurricanes game. So it'll be daytime on Sunday when we do this. So let's go out and win game 4, shall we? And I don't know. I think if you almost play the same game, you might win game 4. We'll all be surprised who's in net, maybe, on Sunday. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you Sunday afternoon, evening on the Morning After podcast. Good night.